Order. Welcome to the regular monthly meeting of Stratford Town Council. We have a very full agenda today, so we'll try to move along as quickly as we can. I welcome, especially welcome our new RCMP Corporal Lutley here tonight. Thank you for joining us, as well as Constable Saunders. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I'd also like to welcome Andrea Simpson, who will be doing a presentation to the council. And yeah, so with that, I'll move to the agenda. At this time, I'll go to item number 2, declaration of conflict of interest. At this time, any councillor who has a conflict on any items on our agenda tonight, please declare so now.
Yes, Your Worship, I have a conflict of interest of Play and Development and Heritage there, 12C, resolution there with Red Meadows rezoning request.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll go to item number 3, approval of the agenda. Ask for a motion. Actually, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll just ask for a motion for approval of the agenda as it is, unless there's some items that someone would like to add or change the order of.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, the minutes of our regular council meeting of June 9th, 2021 are in your package.
Your Worship, did we forget the indigenous?
I'm sorry, you're right. Thank you for reminding me, Councillor Smith. I really, especially this month, I think it's really important that we acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. Thank you for that, Councillor. Maybe I'll try to get that added to the agenda so I don't forget from now on. Sorry about that, and it's no mark of disrespect. I have nothing but respect for the Mi'kmaq people, for the Indigenous people of this country, and all the sorrow that we share with them for the recent discoveries. So it's certainly not intentional to not have that first thing. Okay, we'll back to the agenda. Business. The minutes of, as I said, the minutes are before you. Any omissions or revisions suggested to the minutes? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval of the minutes. Thank you. Second?
Second right here.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. At this time, we'll move to item number 6, presentations from the floor, and I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Andrea Simpson. Thank you.
Just gotta get the projector over here.
Thank you. Good evening. Good afternoon, and my name is Andrea Simpson. I am a resident of Stratford. I reside in the neighborhood adjacent to Church of Lady of Assumption Church on Pondside Court, and I've been a resident for approximately 11 years. Thank you so much, Mayor Ogden, and all members of council for this invitation to address you this evening. I will keep my comments as brief as possible in respect of the time. So at issue is the rezoning application for an 84-unit residential development in the 14-acre field behind Our Lady of the Assumption Catholic Parish Church on Stratford Road. The proposed development, consisting mostly of multi-residential units, borders Redden Heights, Millennium Drive, John Hamilton Drive, and Campbell Drive. I understand the matter of rezoning came before the town's planning board on July 5th for recommendation, and this evening's council meeting has been called for first reading. If it passes, the matter will be before council again tomorrow, July 15th, for possible approval. Why go ahead? Here are some assumptions that I would like to put before you. I will speak to 3 of them. Assumption turns low-value vacant land into high-value residential development. This assumption counts the benefits, but not the costs. We may have more housing, but if that means we have fewer trees and less viable forests, then we also need to account for that cost. In the case of Red Meadows, these costs are the loss of environmental services such as flood control, water regulation and purification, climate regulation, pollination services, and green space, to name just a few. All of these services contribute to human welfare and therefore represent part of the total economic value of a specific location. But the loss of these services generally goes uncounted, and subsequently, they are given too little weight in policy decisions. Another assumption is that it satisfies adjacent property owners. Based on media reporting, adjacent property owners are opposed, concerned, and they are concerned about being heard, but not always being heeded, and no serious trade-offs are negotiated. And the third assumption that I want to put before you is that this development preserves existing site features. With this development, the site will be more prone to flooding, runoff, and localized heating. Cooling and water regulation services will be hampered. If you put a road bisecting this property, it will be forever changed, and most of the existing site features will not be preserved but degraded. So why choose a different route? Well, what legacy do you wish to leave future residents? Going down this path is irreversible, and it misses a great opportunity to leave a true and lasting legacy, not to mention that it forecloses all future options. Is this really the correct decision for anything but the economic short term? What do you see in this slide? A vacant parcel of land, tax and permitting revenues, needed housing, a road that runs across, parkland, or protection for the future, and a small guarantee of better quality of life and protection of ecosystem services that benefits everyone. It's easy to see this property in the abstract and looking at the revised zoning application and the drawings that have been submitted. It all looks great, but when you actually walk this site every day like I do and you hear the sounds and you see all the changes and the textures and the way the land slopes and embraces the water during melt, it is a special place, teeming with life. What do you think? What is the value of a copse of trees, a meadow, or a marsh? And how do we measure that? Do you know what environmental services you will lose and what that valuation would add up to? And have you factored these costs into your decision-making so far? Here are some of the things we take for granted in this very special town. The availability of rich topsoil, reliable seasonal rainfall, a renewable water table, the notion that we have replaceable trees, and a livable climate. Which of these things would you be prepared to live with less of? Because the land and that particular site are crucial to maintaining all of those things. And why should you care? As I mentioned earlier, most development decisions are irreversible. And damage is cumulative. Erosion of public confidence is happening, and climate emergencies are here. If you think this is someone else's problem, ask the people of Fort McMurray. They faced fires, and we've just witnessed a huge heat dome over the West Coast, something that people have never experienced in Vancouver. They never thought they would ever see that kind of climate change happen so rapidly. What makes us different? Are we going to be prepared for a drier or wetter and warmer future? Are we currently decreasing the town's environmental services through development? Perhaps we should consider protecting Redden Meadows and designing it to enhance ecosystem services by turning it into a biotic pump to provide and improve the local water cycle. This slide shows a diagram of different scenarios. So the first being one where you have essentially the relationship between canopy, mature canopy, nearby ocean or sea, and the formation of clouds. And this becomes a positive feedback loop. So there is a temperate climate, an arid climate, and a wet climate. I believe it's temperate, arid in that order. So perhaps we should consider looking at Redden Meadows as a biotic pump that would help ensure services such as flood control and water purification and assist with climate regulation and local cooling. Interestingly enough, it is possible in the near future that you will be paid, Town of Stratford, to improve environmental services through programs such as payments for ecosystem services. So why not get a head start? Wetlands and forests, finally, are important climate regulators. And these naturalized areas are our very best defense against climate disasters, and they provide a high quality of life well into the future and do not foreclose options for future generations. The most desirable places to live are those that have a high level of environmental services, places that prioritize their green spaces, protect and preserve natural corridors, and design on a human scale, provide a better quality of life for all citizens, now and into the future. So do you still see a vacant parcel of land when you look at this slide, with a road running through it and pavement and vehicles everywhere? Is there another path? one better for the future, and one that does not foreclose options. It's called reforestation. And we have a chance now to do the right thing. The thing that residents want and will support. The opportunity to create a lasting legacy, a natural garden, and a natural guardian that will act as an insurance policy for an uncertain future. And just to close, I'll read you a little quote from a gentleman, Ed Struzniak, who wrote a book on how wildfires will shape our future in Canada. And he said, and you know, that's what happened at Fort McMurray. One of the reasons why that fire took off so quickly was that there was a wetland that was once there that was drained. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation, Andrea. Really appreciate it.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
a lot. Okay. Any more presentations from the floor? Jeremy? No? Okay. The next report is, the item on the agenda is my report, and I will just quickly go through it, and I'll try to just hit the highlights. There's a couple of very big things going on in the town right now. It's actually a very historic time in the history of our town. We're on the verge of having a community campus property purchase finalized. We've got a waterfront that is being developed. I had the pleasure of participating in the official opening of a long-awaited and really important active transportation path across the Hillsborough Bridge. We've got some major decisions to make tonight with regard to rezoning requests and a bylaw change and that sort of thing. So my presentation or my information report is in your package. Any questions on my report? If not, we'll go to Chief Administrative Officer, Acting Chief Administrative Officer Jeremy Crosby for his report.
Robert didn't prepare a report before he left, but some of the items that I've been working on since he's been on vacation is looking at the transit pilot program. Had some additional information on that, and the rural initiative with the province, so we're still dealing with them on that to see if there's something we can do together. The PACE and the SWITCH program, making sure that the agreements were all in place, and we did have a meeting with our solicitor to make sure that the FCM agreement and the PACE program agreement and all the information is there for council. Red Meadows rezonings, Kevin and I and staff have been working on those all week long to make sure everything is in place for tonight. Program to improve relations with the province. We're looking at various things that we can do to help our relationship. We do have a good relationship with the province, but there's always things that we can work on to do better. Various requests for decisions are in place right now. One of them is coming before you tonight, but there's 3 or 4 others that we're working on right now. Council requests, engagement strategy review is ongoing, and just day-to-day activities. There's many more things, but that's just a few.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the acting CAO's report? No, thanks for your report.
Thank you.
I neglected to mention in my report that I also had the pleasure yesterday of participating in the official opening of the Occupational Stress Injury Treatment Satellite Office here in clinic here in Stratford, along with Premier and MP Lawrence McCauley. So that's a great addition to and convenient item for veterans, not only in Stratford, but in all of Prince Edward Island, which means they don't have to go off the island for treatment of occupational stress injuries. Okay, we'll move to item number 9, Safety Services. Turn it over to the chair of that committee, Councillor Derek Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Report packages in your group under 9A. The Safety Services meeting held on the 21st of June is there for your reading. Not much happened at this meeting. It's just the standard stuff. Does anybody have any questions? Please ask now. If not, we can move on.
I just, Councillor Smith, one question there, the parking issue, McIntosh Drive now in my ward, myself and Councillor Close. This on McIntosh Drive, we're looking at, I think Jeremy spoke about putting up signs. If regards to, I guess that's from the highways, but I guess regards to enforcement part, is the RCMP enforcing those no parking signs, or where do we, like, I'm just trying to, under HTA, is under Highway Traffic Act, or is it municipal bylaw and so on? Is there enforcement going to take place there?
Okay, the committee did justify the concern of the residents, and we are making an application to put no parking signs up in that area,
Yeah.
because it is a justified complaint.
Okay.
Now, what action has been taken so far, I don't know. I'm going to pass that over to Jeremy for his comments.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's on Charlie's list of duties to actually make that request. I'm not sure if he had yet. He's on vacation right now. But I did talk to the resident involved and indicated that we would be putting the signs up. And I will be speaking with the RCMP. I indicated to Mike tonight that I'd like to meet and discuss a few items. So that'll be one of the items that we do bring up. But we do have no parking signs in other areas of the town, and they are enforced by the RCMP. Okay. So I don't see there being any issue here either.
Thank you, that answered my question.
Might I add, this event was because of the multiple use field being used by a lot of people,
Yeah,
right? However, that new trail going up to Mount Herbert, there is double, if not triple, the traffic down there now parking in that parking lot.
exactly.
Because the word's getting out that they can leave Fulton's Marsh and go right down to Mount Herbert, right through that whole trail now.
Exactly, yeah.
So the parking is going to become an issue. So the no parking is justified, as I said before.
Councillor Smith, I just have a question there. Over the weekend, there was a cricket tournament going on at T Hill Park. I did receive some calls and emails on that. In fact, I thought we could hear it over in Clearview, but I wasn't sure. But I think it's the PA system that they're using over there, and it's extremely loud. And I did speak to Director of Recreation, Jeremy Pearson. I know he is looking into it, but perhaps, and apparently traffic was heavy in that area too. I guess there's a lot of people attend that event, and I'm not sure how many tournaments that they have, but I guess it's in use quite a bit now. And I'm just wondering if we could, with the RCMP, keep an eye on that, especially with traffic and noise. It mainly came from up in T Hill subdivision and in that area, and probably around your area.
As a resident, I heard the loudspeakers.
Yeah.
Now, it should be pointed out, that was not a tournament. That
Okay.
was Welcome to Cricket Night,
Okay.
all right? And they invited everybody to come and try cricket.
That's good.
So they had the fields packed with the young people.
Yeah, I heard it was
And
packed.
in order to hype them up, they had the PA system announcing, oh, that's a good hit, look at that one. And they really kind of encouraging cricket. Apparently, there is a 50-person waiting list to join that league. And now we're understanding the Summerside and they're reaching out to other communities for cricket to grow and expand.
That is great.
So, but that was a special event for the public, and they put a PA system to try to encourage these things. But they're a very workable group. We will contact them, we will make note of it, and I'm sure there'll be some kind of solution.
Yeah, Jeremy's aware of it, Jeremy Pearson. He's looking
Okay.
into it, yeah.
Good,
Just
excellent.
to add to that, Jeremy's not here tonight, but we did speak about that earlier, and I had some other complaints. he's already looked into the issue, and the organizers are very good to work with. And the next tournament, I understand they're not going to use the PA system, but they are going to work with the town to make sure that there's no issues in the future, or hopefully they can remedy some of those issues. But it is a very popular sport here now, and they're definitely willing to work with us. So just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions on the meeting? All right, said none. Streetlight report, we have nothing this month. Under 9C, RCMP, I'm going to call Constable Sanders to the mic. No, Constable Sanders to the mic. He has an update on the capture program that was brought before the council, and he has an update for us tonight on that one.
Thank you. I thought by me bringing the new corporal that I wouldn't have to be up here again. Actually, so we discussed capture months ago. I remember doing it on a Zoom meeting. Capture kind of is the camera registry program that I initiated in Stratford. It kind of got put not on the back burner, but it was delayed a little bit through Ottawa and the federal government red tape. But that's across the country. We have broke through the red tape, and we're moving on. It's taken the next step. We're just waiting for a contract to be signed with the developer, and the website looks like it's going to be good to go here shortly. And at that point, we'll be starting to advertise and hopefully get this program up and running sooner rather than later.
Okay.
So,
That's good news. Thank you for that update.
no problem.
Good. Now, we'll go on to our statistic sheets. I believe the best one we should look at is the Stratford Mayor's Report, and that basically breaks down what we like to see here as a council. There were 31 SOTs written for the month. There were 15 speeding, non-moving 9, moving 1, driving while suspended 1, seatbelts 3, intersections 2, for a total of 31. There was 5 vehicle collisions. 3 of them were reportable damage. The collision areas were Route 1, Stratford, and Georgetown Road. All right. 8 total warnings written for the month. And of course, we have our other calls that nothing really outstanding for the month. It's just a typical month for us. And we did have 62 NSC checks done for the month. And that really relates to baseball, soccer, softball leagues, coaches and stuff like that. All right, any questions on statistics? The other statistics report is being worked on. We've had inquiries from the council. They like to see month-to-month, year-to-year the view, and that way it'd be a little better for us. All right, so we'll leave it open to the councilors now to ask the RCMP questions about their duties and responsibilities.
Councillor Smith, I have a question. Is there any chance of getting both those statistics on the same sheet? Right now, I have to bounce between 2 different forms to get month by month and year to date.
I can ask the analyst that. I don't see that being a problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Yep.
Just kind of go back to the way it's been for the last 20 years sort of thing. And you know, I understand it's using a new form, but there shouldn't be a big difficulty to get those 2 figures on the same sheet. Even just going back 2 years, I don't know if we necessarily have to go back 4 years like we have here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll mention that next
Thank
time
you.
that we meet
Appreciate
with them.
that.
Yeah, no problem.
The question would be, you're open to communication, so if a councilor contacted you directly, you're okay with that?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
not a problem at all.
Any more questions for the RCMP?
Just with regard to the report itself, I understand that there has been maybe some negative feedback just in the previous reports, might have been a little bit more difficult to read or understand. I did have a conversation with our analyst about that. He is using a new program to do this, but you can see from May to June, he did modify it a little bit to make it a little bit user-reader friendly. I hope that's a little bit better than what it was back in May when, yeah. So,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, good.
Any more questions for the RCMP?
No, I don't see any question.
Okay.
Thanks for everything you do, and welcome to Stratford. I guess
Glad to
welcome
be
back
here.
for you, eh?
It's welcome back, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was
Great to have
posted,
you.
I was originally posted here from 2011 to 2013, and I had left, and things kind of came full circle, and now I'm back here, so it's
That's
good to be
great to-
back, yep.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
I know we really, we're sorry to see Glenn Dudley go, but at the same time, he's moved on to another posting, and we're really glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Corporal
Yeah.
Dudley.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Corporal,
Yes,
I'm noticing that the theft unders are really down for this month, and I'm just wondering, is that where you classify like gas drive-offs and that type of thing?
yep, theft under would be considered a gas drive-off, absolutely.
So it must be going down in numbers, which is great.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. We had one today, however, but, anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks very
Thanks.
much. Thank you.
Moving on to 9D, Humane Society report. It's a standard report. There's no standing. Any questions? We'll try to answer them. And 9E, the transit report is there before you. The numbers are basically staying the same. But I would think with the easing of the restrictions, it should have a bounce to the positive. It seems to be, the line keeps going up and around the September area. Transit numbers might be affected because of the new pathway across the bridge. Personally, when I drive across the bridge, I see people on that pathway now all the time, which is great to see, especially bicyclists with young and old people. That's great to see. We'll move on to, any questions on
Yeah,
transit?
just one, give me an update on Ward 3 transit coming.
Okay, we'll leave that to our acting CAO, Jeremy.
Yeah, I did mention that in my report, but they are still looking at September, and we're just tweaking the program now to make sure that it's going to be something that's going to give us the information we need to see if we can have full-time transit in that area. So we're still on track.
We're talking Ward 3, but we're talking all of Stratford. The development going on here is outstanding. And your area alone, in the Clearview Estate area, is going to have multiple builds pretty soon. So we can see the people moving now to the outskirts of Stratford versus the core. So it's needed, obviously has been needed. Okay, any more questions on transit? Okay. Moving on to 9F, the Crossroads Fire Department. Again, a standardized month. We had a meeting, not much going on, just the usual training of the membership, recruitment of membership, and the maintain of the equipment. And regards to calls, there was nothing outstanding for the month. So we have any questions on that, you can ask now. And if not, we'll close up my report. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your report, Councillor Smith. Okay, we'll now move on to item number 10, Recreation, Culture and Events. As the chair of that committee, Councillor Steve Gallant to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. For the month of July here, we started off the events with the gathering. Restrictions still in place. Stratford offered a condensed version of Canada Day for a second year in a row. Many smaller scale activities were offered in the week leading up to Canada Day itself with the Celebrate of Stratford. The motorcade was well supported by community activity. Stratford is home to a strong and resilient residential and commercial base that has preserved over the past 16 months of the COVID pandemic. The town is proud to acknowledge the outstanding efforts of resident service groups and commercial organizations. The day was highlighted by the popular ice cream and strawberry drive-through. Over 450 dessert treats were passed out between 2 and 3. Also, the town now looks forward to the return of Fall Fest, first offered in 2019. Fall Fest is a community-minded event that promotes the greater outdoor areas found in Stratford. This year, the town was chosen among the communities from across Canada to receive a generous $5,000 sponsorship from Duo Insurance. And this sponsorship was given out during the Federation of Municipalities, and Councillor Burridge and Recreation Director Jeremy Pierce applied for the money and events, and it was picked out of 58 people across Canada, and it was $5,000. So it's going toward our Fall Fest. And you wanted, can you say anything else? What about how it came across the meeting there at the Federation of Municipalities?
I first timer in this conference, so I
Virtually, yeah.
virtually, well, ever. So, I just took a little breeze through the trade show, wondering if there was what was going on. And anyways, I put my name, I contacted Jeremy, we put an application in, I saw this draw, and I said, we can use that. And lo and behold, I got the email saying we got it. So I don't know what Jeremy put in that application. I sent the form to him. It was his magic words that came through. But anyway, we capitalized on the opportunity. So basically all they want is exposure. They're linked to Cooperators Insurance.
Okay.
That's what we'd all be more familiar with. So this Duo is a kind of an offshoot from Cooperators, and it's all event insurance. And basically all they want is some exposure, and they're going to set up a booth. And that's the only commitment we had to make. So it was, we'll give them kudos, and they were excited to come to PEI and get some exposure. So that's it.
That's great. $5,000 extra to our Fall Fest event is going to help a lot. And thank you very much, Councillor. The Arts and Culture Stratford Town Hall now is a proud host to a selection of 13 paintings from the DVA Veterans Canada. Stratford Town Centre will display the collection for up to 2 years with the Veterans Affairs building undergoes renovations, and currently now. The town is also proud to showcase an art collection from esteemed artist Floyd Traynor. The Floyd Traynor collection on loan from the University of Prince Edward Island. Now I'll go down to the Stratford. The Stratford Youth and Centre Council, Stratford Youth Centre drop-in program is now closed for the summer. There are a few youth programs that we're running through the summer, but most are finished for the season. The Youth Centre Garden Club will continue to meet through the summer and maintain a Youth Centre garden plot at the community gardens. I want to acknowledge the Youth Centre recently draw the winners for the kickoff, the summer raffle. Draw date was on June 28th. The winners there was $500 from Sobeys gift card from Drew Petrie. And our own Mary McCaskill won $250 from Sobeys gift card, finished second. And third place was $100 for Elaine Frazier. So that was great to see. Our parks and courts and sport fields, all sport fields, soccer, softball, and baseball operate at capacity during prime time. Softball has been seen exceptional growth in this registration for 129 to 2018 to 191 this summer. Likewise, Stratford Baseball is now considered the largest baseball program on PEI with 356 registered players. The splash pad opened on Friday, June 25th, and although the visitor counts are not kept, it could be argued that this has been the busiest summer to date, despite the inconsistent weather patterns. Likewise, adjacent skate park has experienced unprecedented uses with skaters, scooters, and bikers. The Stratford Town Centre is home to Stratford's first and only disc golf course. It's currently out back here. The 9-hole golf course is being used daily for the first-time players in season, experienced players, and a new sign has been placed and around the course is very popular to all residents. Also, several COVID delays, the installation and process of a natural playground. At Fuller's Creek Conservation Park has started. This long-awaited children's play structure will become a centerpiece for the children and families visiting the park. The park has also benefited from the province installing a 100-foot bridge at the tip of the trail that will connect the trail users to nearby Mount Herbert. The Trans-Canada Trail now officially connects Stratford to all eastern PEI. Trail users will also benefit this expanded fit. and also a natural playground should be completed by July 23rd, and the province will coordinate with official opening for natural playground and the bridge, as you're probably aware, Your Worship. The bench program started in 2020. Signs have been placed on 4 benches along the 4-kilometer trail system, with more added to later this fall. Of course, the programs, the town of Stratford would like to acknowledge the generosity of Mayflower Seniors and Stratford Lions Club for sponsoring a child in our Stratford summer camp. These 2 outstanding community service organizations have provided a child with a summer to remember. And that was awful nice of them. And it's good as a counselor and a recreation director to drive up in front of the town hall and see the kids. Everybody's so busy, skateboarding there, the water park in behind disc golf. And so it's a great sight to see, and everybody, kids having fun, and it's all about summer, right? And when the Canada Day events, I forgot to mention here, Tanya and Rachel and Tina and Nicole and Debbie did a great job assisting, and Jeremy itself with the Canada Day events. There's always people in the background you don't acknowledge, but I want to throw acknowledgement out to them tonight because they always do a great job. I'm surrounded by great people as chair of recreation, and they would just want to see things improve for Stratford, and things are growing, like our sport fields, and we're all quite aware of it. And we purchased our community campus with 170 acres land, so hopefully we'll facilitate that problem. We're applying for our funding this fall, and we're looking at the sports fields and baseball and so on. So I know we are maxed out, and I know but it's great to be maxed out, but at the same time, you want our kids to be able to play in their own community. I mean, it's well said to me every day. People talk to me, let's get her going here, and you're going the right direction. So that's it, my report, Your Honor.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions for Councillor Gallant?
Just Constable. You haven't been constable for a while, have you? Just to go back to our sports fields and whatnot, and in the context of that, I'm kind of, well, I am and I'm not shocked, but 356 kids playing ball and softball is pretty impressive. And of course, we do not have the facilities to facilitate that number, which I can speak to. I'm a parent of 4, and I go to Fort Augustus for my ball. But I'm wondering if, and this can be a discussion in the rec committee. Obviously, we've purchased the land, and building these facilities is in the works. So one part is, I would hope that perhaps we can, if it's possible, have a discussion about expediting the development of these facilities because of the demand and the need that we currently have. When we get things rolling in the plan. I mean, obviously, we still need the infrastructure completed, but if there's any way, and even to follow up with the infrastructure, if, in other words, if we got enough developed in the infrastructure, and our plan was to put something here, let's kind of get rolling with it, because we're not getting smaller, we're getting bigger, and we're already beyond our capacity right now. The other is, are we exploring any options outside of the community campus to build any facilities that you're aware of? Do we have land elsewhere that we've kind of suggested or earmarked for ball fields or soccer or anything beyond the campus? And if so, I'm not familiar with any. If you, yeah.
My wife and I were down in Fulton Marsh every weekend, and saw some space there in Fulton Marsh. But I mean, that's a peaceful place, right? It's a natural playground. With a natural playground, it's pretty movement down. There's a soccer field there now, but I know I'd like to have some direction from council. In the meantime, if maybe next year, or this year, or next year, or the year after, just to temporary spots. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. To facilitate. I know this year with soccer, as I was talking to Jeremy, there's probably 30 under 5s that can't play soccer this year because there's not enough soccer space, right? So,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's true. But we are, working on it. The group here is 6 and there, and we're all working on it with the acres of land there. I'm just waiting on our funding and moving forward from there, right?
So it is, the community campus is the option, which is a great option. I just think we should have a discussion in recreation and consultation with the developers of that property to see if, if there are options to expedite that, and like I say, when it's cleared and there's pavement here, we may not be finished over here, but can we start, getting stuff rolling in that? And that's, I think, a discussion that we should start.
Yeah. I think women have infrastructure put in place, that maybe, can't put the cart before the horse here, but our infrastructure gets in place, and we can
Yeah.
start moving there, and then with school, 2023 too.
The school is slated to open fall 2025, but.
Oh, 25.
But regarding the sports fields, so we have, community campus is a spot where all that infrastructure is going to come. And we do have ISIP funding, as you know, in for this year for
Right.
2 ball fields and 2 multi-use courts.
That's right.
So that's been applied for. The other thing is the campus master site plan, which is being worked on, Jeannie, and that's coming along and will probably be, and the whole idea being, let's place all this infrastructure in on the site in a way that makes sense and flows. So that site plan is being worked on right now and will be ready this fall. So then we know where we want to put it on the site. But the big piece there is going to be funding to come through. That's.
Yeah, and if I could just add my voice to this, I think it's really important that we highlight the importance of developing this infrastructure and getting this funding for the families. 36 families, their children can't play soccer this year. I'm not sure about other sports. I heard we were maxed out on baseball. I don't know if we turned anyone down. I know there are, 5 teams that, how many teams are there that have to play in other communities? There's
I have 2 children on different teams that play out of Fort Augustus, so there's 2 teams, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the overall. Actually, there's 4 teams that play back to back to back to back from
Yeah.
Stratford when I'm
And
in
then-
Fort Augustus, so there's at least 4.
Yeah, I heard 5 teams
Yeah.
didn't have space to play in Stratford. Also, our hockey players, all the youth hockey players, the minor hockey players, and figure skaters, and ringette players, and they have to play. They can't play in our home community.
No, correct, yeah.
That has a big impact on families and on the community as a community.
Yes,
We're a community. We have to, and it's on us to work with our funding partners to get the necessary funding.
Yeah.
To put these programs and services in place that people need. And that's one of the things they need is recreational infrastructure.
Exactly.
And we have to do that. That's really an important task that we've got in front of us to really draw attention to this and to try to make our funding partners, provincial government and the federal government, understand that we've doubled in size since we were formed in 1995.
Yep, exactly.
And we're on our way to going to, a much larger population than that. So we really have to get the infrastructure in place for our residents,
Yep.
so they don't have to play, their kids don't have to play in other communities, and we're able to offer everything they need here in Stratford. So that's our challenge for now and into the future.
Exactly.
So, anyway, it's in front of us, and but we really have to draw attention to it. That's
Yeah.
very, very important.
Just for
Yeah.
point of interest is, I drive by the soccer fields every day and every night.
Yeah.
And they are full, but they are empty at nights too. I think there's 3 fields down there, and you'll see 1 field in use. It seems like there's 1,000 kids there, or there's 50. They must have tournaments or whatever running, but never see anyone there on Sundays. Sundays, that place is wide open. I very seldom see a soccer on Sunday in these fields. So I hear what you're saying about soccer, but I do see empty time slots for soccer in those fields. In fact, what I'll do from here on in, I'll start recording when I go by at night, just how many are there and how many fields are being used or not, because I know there are people playing there, and there's a lot of people playing there, but I'm not sure if it's scheduling or whatever, but it looks like there is some free time there.
I think the scheduling, you have to look at scheduling, I mean,
Yeah.
but the 4 and 5-year-olds, I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see them on a Sunday, it'd be
No,
a
no.
Tuesday and Thursday.
I'm just surprised to
Yeah.
see the fields empty, that's all.
Yeah,
And I hear what you're saying,
yeah,
that's all.
yeah.
I'd just like to make 3 comments, just comments only.
Thank you.
Fullerton Marsh, the new orchard that we planted last year is doing very well.
What's
They're
that?
all-
Sorry, I missed
The
it.
The
apple
orchard.
trees, plum trees we planted
Oh,
last year, they're doing very well.
Yeah, they look great.
In regards to different types of sports that we have initiated over the years, skate park, splash pad, different stuff, that disc golf, I'm amazed about how many people are playing disc golf. You wouldn't think it, but they're out there all the time playing it.
Yes.
So that's another feather in the cap for the rec department. In regards to soccer fields, fields need to rest. You can't use them constantly because you will wear them down and break them down, so they do have to have so much time to regenerate. And that's some of the reasons sometimes they're not being used. So it's called rest in the fields, and you have to give so many hours a week to let them regenerate themselves. Anyway, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Councillor Glant? If not, thanks for your report, Councillor Glant.
No problem.
And now we'll move on to item number 11, Finance and Technology. I'll ask Councillor Gail McDonald to give her report, Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Bishop. The small package is in your agenda package there tonight. I'll read a little bit of what the Finance Department has been doing for the last month. So right now, the auditors are on site doing the year-end audit. The statements have been finalized for the seniors complex. The staff are reviewing the water supply and sewer treatment charges for new development. The insurance tender closes on July 19th. Staff are also working on revamping the long-range forecast model. The July utility bills, the e-bills are completed. The e-bills are in customers' hands now, and the manual bills will be delivered by July 16th. Staff are also reviewing the records management requirements with regards to the MGA. Staff have also attended a revenue sharing meeting with other staff from other municipalities. The Finance and Technology Committee did not meet in June, so we don't have a report. Well, we will be meeting in July. We're meeting next week. So also the income statements are in your package as well. So generally speaking, the town of Stratford revenue is down about 5%, and our expenses are also down to the tune of about 11%. Utility, we're also down in revenue about 5%, and expenses are also down about 8%. So we're kind
So it's a wash.
of to wash.
Pretty well.
Is right. Any specific questions that myself or Kim would like to be able to answer? That's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you for your report, Councillor McDonald. Okay, we'll move on to Planning, Development, and Heritage, and this is a big one for the chair of that committee, Councillor Jill Burridge. Just before I turn the floor over to her, though, I do want to congratulate her on her father's, Fred Chevery's, winning the Roland Missioner Conservation Award, which is a national award awarded to for conservation efforts, and so it's a great award, and congratulations to you and your family. You must be very proud of your dad.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud for Dad. Yeah, we're all very, very proud of him. It's been a lifetime passion he's had throughout his whole life. And wouldn't he be tickled that he's being brought up at a town of Stratford meeting, hey, from Eastern Kings? Anyway, but he'll get a kick out of that. So thank you for that,
Well,
Mayor.
it's our council, our town's commitment to sustainability that really, and you're carrying the torch forward in that area as well, as is all the council. So it's great to have that connection.
Yeah, no, it is great, and conservation is a big key to moving forward, and it's a tough thing to balance. And Dad's speech, it's making those decisions, and we have a few of them in front of us tonight. you know, conservation is a big part, and I think Stratford does, you know, has a good approach for that. We can't save all lands from development. We don't own them all, and you know, but we do what we can to conserve those little pieces and jewels that we see within these sites. So we do what we can. All right, my report. I guess, I mean, a lot of what we discussed at Planning Committee on July 5th is here being presented in resolutions. So I don't think there's anything at planning that we discussed that won't be inside a resolution here tonight. So unless there's any questions, I'll probably just move on to the permit summary. Busy times with planning staff, planning and development staff. Big one, I guess, what we usually look at is the building permit summary. And yeah, we're on task. The report's looking a little different here, Kevin. Where's the overall June to last year?
Scroll down.
Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. No, it's not looking different. I just didn't go far enough. So yeah, relative to last year, we are ahead, January to June. We're sitting at almost $25 million in development. Compared to last year was 17 million, 17.6. So we're ahead. Now, granted, last year we were in the throes of COVID in that spring, but regardless, yeah, we're on track. We're back up to those big levels in 2018, 2019. If anyone has any questions on the permit summary, feel free to fire away.
I have one question. In regards to later on tonight's agenda, we're looking at a switch program where heat pumps and solar arrays are going to be financed. I noticed in the reports here we have solar arrays, 2 or 3 of them. Do you think that's going to increase with this new program comes in? Like, is there going to be more solar arrays applied for? And is heat pumps, are they looked after by the planning department, or is there anything to that?
No permit required for adding a heat pump to a house, and the only solar arrays that you see are ones that are mounted on the ground and not mounted on the structure
Okay.
itself. If they're mounted on the structure itself, they don't require a permit, so there's a significant amount that you would not be capturing in this report, only ones that are ground-mounted systems.
I notice a lot, driving around the province, there's a lot of solar arrays now, and not very many of them in the proper, like you say, on land, but on the roofs. But that doesn't qualify. Thank you for that.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to item C, and I'll read it in. Oh, yes, I guess, DV, you might have to step out. I should say Councillor Gallant. All right, I'll read it in. Number PH 013-2021, RZ 001-21, Redden Meadows rezoning request, R1 to PERD, Stratford Road, first reading. Whereas a new application has been received from Redden Meadows to rezone parcel numbers 106-1175, 106-1167, and 329-011, approximately 14.01 acres in total, from the low-density residential zone to planned unit residential development zone, PERD. And whereas the developer has revised the development scheme from last year, changing the number of dwelling units accessed via Redden Heights and created a new entrance off the Stratford Road. Whereas the traffic study has been updated to reflect the changes to the development scheme, and whereas this rezoning request will require the following amendment to be considered. Zoning and Development Bylaw, an amendment to the official zoning map to change parcel numbers 106-1175, 106-1167, and 329-011 from the low-density residential zone R1 to the planned unit residential development zone PERD. Whereas 150 notification letters were sent to property owners whose parcels of land are within 150 meters of the subject property to solicit input on the proposed zoning amendment and notifying them of the public meeting to be held on June 23rd, 2021. And whereas a public meeting was held on June 23rd, 2021 at 6:30 PM at the Stratford Emergency Services Center. Due to the current COVID-19 gathering restrictions, this public meeting was limited to 50 people, but was also live streamed for people to watch, and residents were given until June 30th, 2021 to submit their comments. And whereas, as of June 30th, 2021, 40 written comments have been received from the public on this application. Be it resolved that bylaw 45-F, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, bylaw number 45, be hereby read and approved a first time. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 5th, 2021. So moved.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion.
So I guess I can lead this off. We're all quite familiar with this site. The big change here is the developer had taken a lot of the comments from the past design and the public consultation on that. A lot of the conversation in the last application was about through traffic through Redden Heights. So the development now has been turned around, and all the traffic, for the most part, is coming out onto Stratford Road. There are, I think, 11 homes that do end up in a cul-de-sac on Redden Heights. But, you know, we're sitting at 84 units, or 86, 84 units, Kevin? 84 or 86, I think I might be 84 units, and we're sitting in between 14 and 15% green space. I think it was 14.2% green space. Yeah, I mean, we're open to questions here, folks, and discussion. Feel free to fire away with any questions you have on this version of Red Meadows development.
Well, I guess I'll start. I'd like to start by first thanking Andrea Simpson for that excellent presentation that she gave, and very educational, I thought. And I guess climate change is real, whether we like it or not, when you look at the fires in Fort McMurray and the heat wave in Western Canada right now. So they say it's heading our way, and I think we're seeing a little of it too. It seems to be either hot or cold, and here we are in the summer. I'm wearing a jacket on the front 9 and taking everything off on the back 9, so it's really, really different. But I thought it was an excellent presentation. We're looking at 14.1 or 2 or whatever acres it is. The developer is asking that the property be rezoned from R1 to PER. This developer is asking to put 23 single-family homes, 61 townhouse units, for a total of 84 units. This developer is also asking for variances, single-family lot frontages from 72 feet to 45 feet. He's also asking for a side yard from 8 feet to 6. Townhouse reduction in flanking side yard setbacks from 17 feet to 6 feet, plus 15% green space. This piece of property is zoned R1 and is surrounded by R1 on all 3 sides. I believe this developer has approached the town planner on 8 different occasions with applications to change the property to PER, and it has been voted down 7 of the 8 times. It was voted down 7 of the 8 times.
It hasn't been voted down 7 times.
Pardon?
It hasn't been voted down 7 times.
It hasn't?
No.
Well, what I'll do is I'll finish my report,
sorry.
and then you can rebut if you'd like.
Okay.
It's been voted down 7 of the 8 times, I'll say it again, by this council and previous councils, right? And This property was approved by Planning Department, Council, and residents for a sustainable subdivision, but the developer did not go forward with that. And he had the blessing of the town, the residents, to go ahead with that. The question was asked, how many single-family homes could you put on 14.1 acres? And the answer is approximately 67. It depends, I guess, on the lot sizes. At the planning meeting, the town planner touched on letters received back, both positive and negative, going forward in the application. I'd like to expand on the letters from the residents. One resident stated, "Why do residents have to defend this rezoning so often? 8 years in a row. 8 years in a row. Writing letters, speaking out at public meetings, voicing their concerns." Another resident stated she was questioned on, "Why do I spend my time doing this year after year?" And she said, "Because I care about my neighbors, my neighborhood, my community, and the town of Stratford." Another resident stated, "We truly don't think council and members of planning staff and planning committee have any idea of the toll this has taken on us. The emotional health of the affected residents, not to mention the many sleepless nights. How many times are you going to put us through this?" That's the residents in the area speaking. Another resident stated he contacted the developer with concerns he had. He had an agreement, and he had it by an email. Last minute before the public meeting, his agreement was denied, quoting, "It was too late to make changes now." Development not even started, but it's too late. Another resident stated this plan contains no pedestrian infrastructure at all. It forces pedestrians from most locations in the development to take an indirect route to access the existing infrastructure and town amenities. Another resident stated, "Why are we placing the onus on the residents to justify why any of the proposed development shouldn't happen?" In the planner's report, he stated 143 notification letters were sent out and 40 written comments were received back. He also stated that more letters were in favor of the proposed development, and I failed to see that. I really do. I look for it, and you'll have to show me that. In the planner's conclusion, he stated that there are many that applied in favor of the proposed rezoning. He failed to say there were many who are not in favor of the proposed rezoning, but he said everybody was in favor. I listened to all the information that's before me. I attended the public meeting. I listened to developers. I listened to the residents. I attended the planning meeting. And I believe there is a demand for per zoning. But I also believe there is a demand for single-family R1 subdivisions. And I believe this parcel of land should stay R1. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I stand to be corrected, 7-8. I understand that, I know I've been at the table many a times with this council, previous councils on this, and it was mentioned at the planning meeting and whatever, but if you know something different, then I'm open to listening.
Yeah, I've been on council for
Many
10 years,
times.
and I only recall it coming 3 times, but maybe it came before I was on council 10 years ago. Like,
I think that it is 3 times it came to council. Yeah.
Is there any way we could check the record on that quickly?
We did three formal applications.
So there were
That's-
3
that's
formal
what-
applications. So
How-
let the record show that there were 3 formal applications made to rezone this property.
Formal, how many came that were turned down?
None. Or, sorry, there was only 1 denial. That was last year. The sustainable subdivision was never voted on by council. There was open houses, and you may be referring to open houses that were held at the sustainable subdivision to get your count, but there was not 9 applications for the file. There was 3. 1 was formally denied, and the first was never heard by council. It never made it that far.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And thank you for your comments, Deputy Mayor Clow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I, too, have an issue with, saying that there was a lot of comments for this subdivision. I had a quick look at the emails and of the 13 people that said that they were against the proposal, 12 of them were residents, whereas the 22 people that said they were for it, only 9 were residents. So my weight is with the residents, especially the residents of this neighborhood, and that's who I represent. I also would like to read into the record a couple of the comments from the residents. One of them here says the zoning was confirmed R1 when staff, planning committee, and council looked at it recently, and I cannot see why it makes sense to change it to PURD now. How has your vision changed? Once zoning is changed to PURD, we cannot go back to R1. The PURD zoning allows for development that the residents of Stratford are not comfortable with, and I hope that you respect our concerns. PURD zoning does not fit this neighborhood. All of the subdivisions around this area are R1 with single-family homes, no duplexes, let alone townhouses or apartment buildings. If individuals wanted to live in or near townhouses and tightly arranged single-family homes, they would have chosen Browns Court or Ducks Landing as a place to live. Residents in this area are invested in their properties and the community, so invested that many have stayed and paid their taxes for over 40 years. Another comment from a different resident. The version of this plan is worse for the new residents, the existing residents, and the development of the town as a whole than the previous versions were. Surely residents should be assured that their present zoning will not be altered at the request of a developer who is not acting in their best interests, and that they can depend on the councillors to protect them. Another resident. Mayor, council, and members of the planning department again, if this rezoning application was in your neighborhood, you would be where we are today, trying to save the integrity of your neighborhood. I can guarantee it. I personally hope you never have to go through this. This land, once developed, is something Stratford will never get back, and I ask you to treat it with the respect it deserves. Support and listen to the current residents who have invested in this town over the years. Think about the safety issues this rezoning may bring and how it is going to affect your current residents and potential residents that come to your town. Doesn't our mayor, town councillors, and planning committee know what a gem of a property this is? Wow, it could be such a beautiful place to live in and for all to see, but not if it's rezoned to PURD. It does not reflect or enhance the surrounding properties and neighborhoods. One of the residents that actually voted for it is mentioning in his email that it's going to have 30% green space in this development, and we know now that that's not correct. Also, the elimination of proposed apartment building. It's not currently on today's plan, but things have been known to change, and we know that he had the desire to put an apartment building on the site. This person wants to take issue with the character of the new homes with the old Redden Heights homes and the boundary separation between the new and old subdivisions. Let me see. Also, the plan shows that townhouses are too congested. He was actually happier with the other proposal with the single-story townhouses rather than a full two-story townhouse. And once again, another separate resident mentions the 30% green space, and that's why he is in favor of it. So it's hard to keep up with all the changes. And once again, as I say, I didn't give it a lot of weight for non-residents who were in favor of this change. Another resident, the access to this area via Stratford Road will cause substantial congestion. It also makes a portion of the Stratford Trail dangerous at all hours. Comment number 2, the move from R1 to PERD is not substantiated, and the proposed layout is not innovative whatsoever. It is merely cramming possible revenue streams in for the developers and in the end for town tax coffers. It would be prudent, with all the construction currently occurring, to show residents what housing needs for the area are forecast to be based upon: population growth, current stock of housing, and what is in progress now. Many people do not believe that this number of doors is truly necessary. Question, and if this go ahead, you know, there's going to be an inordinate amount of sand, dust, and dirt, which we understand will take place in any construction. And those are the comments that, stuck out for me, Your Worship, and that's, I feel is important as a councillor representing that ward to support my residents. I also have an issue with something that was in the planning report. Just one second. I'm sorry. I didn't print off the entire document of today's agenda and package. It would have definitely killed a tree because it was 498 pages. And so anyway, it was, you know, tough to get through over 3.5 days of getting through all this, but most of us managed to do so. And I believe Deputy Mayor Clow already mentioned this, but, you know, the applicant is not only wanting to change R1 to PERD, but for single dwelling units, a variation in lot frontage from 72 feet down to 45, and the townhouse dwellings, a reduction in the flank side yard from 17 feet to 6 feet. So you'll basically be able to stick your arm out the window and shake hands with your neighbors. So for all those reasons, Your Worship, I'll be voting against this resolution tonight.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Smith.
I'll make a no comments, but I'm interested in the comments of the councillor.
Councillor McDougall.
Yeah, these are tough. You know, the residents have been very invested in this. It has gone on. There have been several votes and reintroductions of plans and whatnot. The residents, I tip my hat for being as engaged as they are. And I also tip my hat to the developer for listening to the residents. I haven't been as engaged as others. Deputy Mayor Clow, you've been through this prior to. This is my second go-around since on council with this particular rezoning application. You know, we can certainly differ in our opinions, and I certainly respect everybody's in this regard, including the developer, the residents, and council, and planning, and everybody involved. For me, I look at it when I'm reviewing, and I'll start with the residents, when I'm reviewing the issues raised by residents, I kind of go to a R1 versus PERD scenario and see if what their concerns are can be eliminated, or if they're justified if it is rezoned to PERD. And with most of the issues I saw that were raised by residents, I don't see that. I don't see it is owned R1, so it is developable land. So there is going to be dust. It's a concern of people. There is going to be, whether it's R1 versus PERD. The busy trucks was another one that was raised. I saw crime rate there. I don't see how that's a fit, but that was introduced by the residents. Property values, well, personally, I don't see how a development of this nature, which introduces properties valued at between likely $350,000 and $500,000, would impact the neighboring community or development, considering what those structures are likely valued at currently. So I'm really trying to look at it from the perspective of R1 versus PERD and in introducing their arguments. drainage issues and other issues that were introduced, and this is in the context of it being PERD. Well, those same issues arguably would exist in an R1 development, but they're not an issue if an engineer or a professional has done what they're supposed to do, what they're hired and trained to do, and they tell us that this is the plan to deal with drainage. I'm not in the position to argue with professionals or engineers, and I put weight in what they say. If the professionals are suggesting it's not an issue, appreciating that a resident that lives there may make that suggestion, but unless they come with a document or a report that was prepared by an engineer or somebody with expertise in that field, then it's just an opinion. I think that in this particular case, the last go-around, what I would suggest was the biggest issue that I heard, and I heard it from council. I know my good friend and fellow councillor, Councillor Gallant, he indicated that his big concern was traffic. And you know, he's a policeman for 25 years, and he introduced that point, and I certainly respect that. I too have been, and I have a different opinion, but again, I totally respect his opinion on that matter, and you know, he indicated that were it not for that, he would likely approve it, as did Councillor Smith. Councillor Smith had issues with traffic too, and he introduced it when we were here at the table for the last vote, and Councillor Smith is a retired police officer as well, so you see the lens that they view it through, given their backgrounds, and I would argue that the developer listened. He listened to the residents, they listened to the councillors who represent the residents, and they rejigged it, and they introduced the the entrance to Stratford Road. You know, this, so ultimately I've given lots of consideration to the arguments that have been made, but I think the theme here for me is that we have to trust the professionals. We have to trust the independent, objective view of professionals. That includes our own professionals that we have on staff. And quite frankly, and now this piece I am subjective because I am friends with members of our planning department, but I think they do a magnificent job. I think they're exceptional at what they do. They work in the context of what's best for the town of Stratford. They work in the context of what the councillors and mayors, previous, and everybody else has suggested should be the vision for this town. I put a lot of stock in what those people that we employ say. The town planning department has recommended that we approve the rezoning application to PERD. The committees that we strike here in the town, you know, we tend to want to have people with knowledge in the field that or the committee that they represent. We have a planning committee that's made up of people who, in this particular case, and in every case, if they're not objective, they should not vote on an issue, and collectively they agreed that this development should be rezoned to PERD. These people are all objective observers. They have seemingly no skin in the game. Our planning department are doing the job we hired them to do. Our planning department, I think, again, is exceptional. And again, the many volunteers that come out and volunteer for our committees and represent the town on these types of issues, they do it with an objective mind and generally with some type of an aptitude in the field or the committee that they're engaged in. So we strike these committees for that very reason, so we can take guidance from these people. And not, again, to discount the opinions of the residents, because I'm not doing that. I've assessed what their issues were. I've made that assessment. But, you know, some of the, another issue being the integrity of the neighborhood, and again, not to suggest that, I mean, I view that more of a subjective type of an opinion. If you're living in a 40-year-old, an older development like it is the expectation to compel a developer to build structures that were built 40 years ago? I mean, I don't know what the integrity of the neighborhood or how that can be manipulated to satisfy that need or that want. I think that for me, in closing, the weight of our planning department, the weight of our planning committee in this particular case, all things being considered, to me, trumps the opinions. Most part, that's essentially what we're dealing with. If you're offering input on something, like I said, whether it be drainage or whatever it might be, we can all have one, and we're reviewing it subjectively and offering opinion. I personally would prefer something from an objective professional. So in closing, I do believe in this rezoning application, and I will be voting in favor of it.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Burridge?
Yeah, I, like you guys said, like, this isn't an easy one. This is complex. A lot of things to balance in your decision here, in our decision here. You know, the residents that wrote all the letters, and I read through every single one of them, and I know that the, you know, they are absolutely, they're writing from their heart, and they're protecting their community in their neighborhood as it exists today, and I absolutely appreciate that. I do know what that feels like. I won't get into the details, but I do know where they're coming from and can relate with that. The presentation here tonight, you know, was wonderful. Andrea's very knowledgeable on you know, creating spaces for wellness, and she does have a planning background. But what kept ringing in my head throughout that is, if we own the property, if we own that land, yes, that all makes sense. But we don't own this land. What happens with these developments is, you know, the developer who owns the land comes forward with a plan, and they try to work with the residents to come up with what's optimal on both sides. And you know, the question that comes up over and over again is, you know, when it's set R1, why are you changing it? You know, and the answer to that is, you know, within the planning process is a rezoning application process. You know, developers are absolutely, they have this tool to apply for this, and it comes with public consultation, and a big part of it is public consultation. And that's probably why it feels like you've gone through this 7 or 8, 9 times, Gary, because the public consultation piece is so big in the planning process. You know, that's just a part of the planning process. So you know, you can't stop developers from applying for this, and the reason this particular site is identified as one that could be entertained to be rezoned to PURD is its location in the community. It's, you know, 600 meters from the future core of our community. it would be classified as an infill site, and it sounds like I'm not giving it the respect it deserves, because I did walk the site, and I walked the trail by myself. I'm usually ripping through it with my kids on the bikes all the time, but I went a couple of weeks ago and I walked it myself. And it is, I agree with everyone, it is a jewel. It's an absolutely beautiful meadow within our community. The active transportation lane through there that I had hoped to protect and not cut is a wonderful asset. But the fact of the matter is, we don't own it, and the developer has gone through a process and has rejigged this. And I guess that's what I'm getting at in the planning process. It's back and forth, the residents have the public consultation, the developer weighs those concerns, and he rejigs it. He works with it. He tries to do what he can do within the site to get what he or she needs out of it, and try to balance the concerns as much as he or she can. And through this process, there has been that back and forth, and that's the planning process, and that's how it works. So when people say, you're just looking at the dollar signs when you see that doesn't enter my mind at all. That is not something I'm entertaining, but sustainability is. We are a growing town. Our population has doubled, like the mayor said earlier. We're looking to double again, in the next 15 to 20 years, where our population is going to double again. And what I worry about is, and when you talk about protecting and protection of your residents, is if we don't start incorporating some thoughtful design with incremental density, and there's going to be people that will, put that back on me and say, this density is too much, but we have to start looking at some incremental density that's put together in a thoughtful design, or we're going to find ourselves in a place where, we're going to be after the fact trying to keep up, and that's what I worry about. This could be entirely something different, in another 5 to 10 years, when those pressures are really on. So I look at this as we went through a process. There was a lot of back and forth. Is it perfect? No, I'm not going to say it's perfect. The residents aren't going to say it's perfect, and I don't think the developer is going to say that it's perfect in his eyes either. But this is what we have, with a lot of back and forth over the period of a couple of years, and things have been rejigged and concessions made, and here's where we are. Out of that design, the people that are most affected out of this are, the residents that are at the end of that line on Stratford Road, and I would work with the developer to ensure that there's some tasteful landscaping and concessions made in there's still a subdivision agreement that would be applied here, that you can make certain development agreements in play, and I think things can be remedied. Perfect, no. Ideal, maybe not, but I think that there is something that we can thread there to alleviate that. But again, back to protection of the residents, we could find ourselves, in a place where we're being reactive to all the growth that's coming at us, and it won't be done in as thoughtful of a way as it could be today. And so that's where I have concerns. It's not next year, it's not the year after, it's 10 years down the road. And that's what planning is. Planning is trying to think long term. So that's, I guess that's it. The only other thing, I guess that's all I have to say. I won't go any further than that, but those are my comments on this particular development.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, do you want to speak before? No, I'm ready to vote. Okay, I'd just like to say a couple of things before I call for the question. First of all, I really respect everyone's opinion on both sides of this issue. I think that there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of analysis that went into all of the statements and letters and discussions. Everyone has had as Councillor Burridge said, it's from the heart. A lot of it's from the heart, and I think it's really important that we look at things into the future. We look at the big view, what's best for the town, and look 20 years into the future and looking back. Is this something that will be a positive or a negative for the town to have this development? I really respect everyone who got involved in this discussion, and I think that we really need to look at being able to defend our positions, which I think everyone has. I would like to hear before people vote, and I think most people have already indicated that, but I would like to know what the reasons are for whichever way everyone votes, because if this decision is appealed, then we'll need to have that information for the appeal. So I would like you to indicate not only how you're voting, but why you're voting that way, because we really need to look at the best interest of the town, an objective look at the evidence, and really strike a balance between respecting the rights of residents and the rights of landowners and developers. So with that, I will call for the question. So I'll ask for those who haven't indicated, if you vote, maybe I'll go around the table. All those in favor? Okay,
Aye.
and you're voting in favor because of the arguments that you made earlier?
Based on my comments.
Yeah, and same as you?
Yes, Your Worship, I'm voting in favor based on the comments that I made earlier.
Okay. Call for those against?
Nay.
Okay, could I ask Councillor Smith, could I ask you to elucidate the reasons for your vote?
Well, first of all, the vote has been taken. I have based this decision on the concerns of the area residents. I've talked to them, I've studied this issue in and out, did all the pros and cons, looked at all the comments, all the law, and the will of the people. The will of the people has dictated that they do not want this land as PERS. They want it R1, and I'm going along with my people in my area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on. If I get my computer working here. There we go. Okay, someone want to ask Councillor Smith or Councillor Gallant if he wants to come back in?
So I'll move on to the next item, once Councillor Glant gets back.
Pardon? Oh, yeah, sorry. So motion was denied, motion defeated.
Councilor Glant is not anywhere near, so we have to look for him.
He's coming.
Send out the hounds.
Okay.
He's out in the splash pad there getting wet. Look, he's dry. He's out playing golf.
All right, I'll start reading. Number PH 014-21, RZ 002-21, Leslie Hilton Home Occupation, Text Amendment, Zoning and Development Bylaw Number 45, first reading. Whereas an application has been received from Leslie Hilton of 53 Marion Drive for an amendment to the Town Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw Number 45 to allow for a home occupation in a semi-detached dwelling. Currently, a home occupation is only allowed in a single dwelling. And whereas a public meeting was held on June 23rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. at the Stratford Emergency Services Center, due to the current COVID-19 gathering restrictions, this public meeting was limited to 50 people, but was also live streamed for people to watch, and residents were given until June 30th, 2021 to submit their comments. And whereas, as of the date of this report was written, several comments have been received from the public on this application, with all in favor of the proposed amendment. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45G, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, be hereby read and approved first time. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held July 5th, 2021. So moved.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Any comments? Questions?
So I guess I could just, we're all, I think, fairly familiar. We were all at the public meeting, and a lot of you sat in the planning meeting the other night just because we had so much business. But yeah, essentially the scope on this is you can run a home occupation from a single-family dwelling within the town of Stratford, and basically the text amendments are allowing that to extend to a semi-detached dwelling. Only. It doesn't include townhouses, doesn't include apartments, it's only to semi-detached dwellings, and that's basically the scope of this, this zoning and development bylaw amendment.
I'd like to make a comment. I believe Mrs. Hilton has made this application, and I congratulate her for bringing this issue forward to the council. And although her name appears in this resolution, I believe that every duplex in Stratford is affected by this. I'd like to have that on the record. But I also believe that you just can't open a business because you live in a duplex. You have to make application
Yes.
to us and
Yeah.
go through a process
And
to
there's
find out what you're
criteria.
putting in there.
Yeah, there's
So it's not
criteria.
going to be open season.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Hilton has brought this before us. I congratulate her, and I will be voting in favor of this resolution.
Yes, I'd like to make a couple of points as well. I think there was way too much emphasis on the specific address in this resolution and the discussion surrounding and the emails that we received. I would gladly give Ms. Hilton a variance to our current zoning bylaw, but to open it wide open to all duplexes in Stratford, I think it might be a slippery slope sort of thing. Every resident that I spoke to that was familiar with this issue thought it was for 53 Marion Drive only. Every single one of them. Oh, that's the Marion Drive request, right? So I'm glad that you brought that up, that let's make sure everybody knows it affects all duplexes and the surrounding neighborhood of those duplexes. I do want to make a point as well that in our current zoning and development bylaw, and hopefully, Kevin, I have the correct copy here, it's dated at the top December 2020. It does say the driveway to the home occupation must be separate and independent from the residential driveway of the dwelling. So I know that in this particular instance for Ms. Hilton for 53 Marion Drive, she's done her due diligence, and I think she's covered off all the other bases, but perhaps not that one. So as I say, I just want to make sure that the residents in Stratford know how large this could be. And I'm glad also that Councillor Smith mentioned that people have to apply. They can't just start running, tattoo shops or nail salons or anything else without coming through the planning department.
Yeah, the bylaw lays all that out, and Kevin can elaborate on that if we want him to here tonight. The reason it was the semi-detached is the only one being entertained is for the parking issues. A lot of communities You know, there was research done in a lot of communities around do extend the home occupation, I'll call them privileges, I don't know, benefits of being able to run a home occupation in your home is only being extended to the semi-detached dwellings because there is room for the parking. And that's why it wasn't taken any further. And Kevin can elaborate on that. He's done more research.
Just to clarify on the driveway access, the driveway does not have to be physically separated. It has to be a separate parking area. And in this particular instance, there is a separate parking area. We believe that semi-detached dwellings having only 2 units have more of an opportunity to have the additional parking, where we were concerned without additional study that townhouse units may not, in particular apartments may not. So you know, the application is for, was made by an applicant at this address, and that's why their name and their address is included in the application. But we were very clear in our wording, in our social media, in our ad that went out, and at the public meeting, that this affects all semi-detached within the entire town. So, you know, if there's confusion out there, we tried to be clear about it. Lots of times there's confusion around these things, and we invite people to ask questions and whatnot. Any of the people that we had spoke with, they were clear and understood that it was for any semi-detached within the town.
Any other comments or questions?
So this is case by case, I'm sorry, everybody applies for an application, it's case by, everything case is different, right?
Yeah, they'll have to bring in an application just like
Yeah.
everything else, and Kevin will have a set of criteria that they have to meet in order to have a application approved.
And there's a list of home occupations that fit within the definition that would be allowed.
Yeah, there's a process that we've used for a number of years for anyone with a or with a single detached home. So they have to meet all the criteria, and they have to be one of the types of businesses that are listed in the bylaw. We have on a couple of occasions taken ones forward that were in gray areas forward through planning board and council for their decision on whether they felt that type of business would fit as a home occupation. But they still have to meet all their criteria, and they have to enter into an agreement with the town, and that agreement gets registered on the property.
So do we charge a fee for that?
Yes.
Okay. And how long is that license good for?
It does not expire. There's no expiry on the registration.
So it should expire when the person moves from the residence, though, right?
It doesn't transfer with the resident.
It doesn't transfer?
It doesn't, no.
Okay.
So if somebody bought a property and there was a home occupation, they would have to apply for a new home occupation, and they would have to go through the same process that the previous applicant went through.
Now, when the resident, Kevin, rents the location, they apply or the landlord applies?
We have had an instance of that in the past.
Right.
The actual homeowner has to sign on the agreement itself. So
Okay.
we've had joint signatures on the application. So the tenant is the one that has done the actual formal work, but the homeowner has to agree because we're registering the document on the homeowner's property for the home occupation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And so who pays the fee? Is it the owner or the tenant?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay,
So, sorry, Your Worship, I just wanted to make it clear that, you know, I give kudos to Ms. Hilton of all her work that she's done, and I would gladly give her a variance. I just wanted to make sure that all of the residents of Stratford know that we're opening it wide open now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just maybe to clarify on that, a variance unfortunately is not an option. That was questioned, and you can't give a variance to a portion of the bylaw that is, there is no variance.
Yeah.
This is a use that's allowed within a specific type of dwelling, so there is no variance to allow it in another type.
She couldn't ask for a variance.
No.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
All right, next one. Number PH 015, the right one, is it 015? -21 Town of Stratford 101523 PEI Inc. and Farquharson official plan text and land use map amendments. Whereas applications have been received from S.J. Murphy Planning and Consulting on behalf of the Town of Stratford, Ian Dalton 101523 PEI Inc., Paul and Robert Farquharson and Jane Farquharson and Doug Crossman for amendments to the Town of Stratford official plan and the zoning and development bylaw number 45. Whereas the proposed amendments will allow for the development of the proposed community campus, future residential development, as well as additional industrial development adjacent to the business park, and whereas some of the subject property was previously located within town boundaries, resulting in a request for changes in designation and zoning for those portions, while other portions have been recently annexed into the town, requiring a process to assign new designations and new zoning and new provisions within the official plan regarding the special planning area. And whereas the requested changes relating to the community campus properties also necessitate a minor textual amendment to both the official plan and bylaw to accommodate the potential range of proposed uses, including restaurants and lounges as secondary uses in the public service institutional zone. Be it resolved, the details of the proposed amendments are as follows. The attached map is for clarity. The Town of Stratford official plan is amended by the addition of the following immediately after clause 7.29A. Permit restaurants and lounges and other ancillary uses associated with recreation and institutional uses. The addition of the following immediately after subsection 11.1.9, the official plan, 11.1.10, special planning area. In going through the restructuring process to extend the town's boundaries by annexation, 2 new properties were brought under the planning and governance jurisdiction of the Town of Stratford. These 2 properties, a portion of PID 608141 and PID 814095, were previously in an unincorporated area under the provincial planning jurisdiction and have been subject to the Stratford Region Special Planning Area, SPA rules under the Planning Act Subdivision and Development Regulations, Section 63. The SPA regulations address subdivision and land use development in the rural areas directly adjacent to the major urban regions in the province. They were established to protect the rural agricultural areas from inappropriate urban-scale developments, and as well as to prevent unsustainable, unserviced suburban sprawl. The objectives of the SBA regulations are to minimize the extent to which unserviced residential, commercial, and industrial development may occur, to sustain the rural community by limiting future urban and suburban residential development and non-resource commercial and industrial development in order to minimize the loss of primary industry lands to non-resource land uses, and to minimize the potential for conflicts between resource uses and urban residential, commercial, industrial uses. In annexing the above-mentioned properties, the amendments to the official plan and zoning amendments to the development bylaw have been prepared in conformance with these objectives. Under subsection 6310 of the Planning Act Subdivision and Development Regulations, municipalities with official plans may elect to take a different approach to meeting the 3 SPA objectives rather than implementing the standards set out in the remainder of Section 63. This alternate approach is subject to the municipality following all required processes and meetings, all standards under Section 7 of the Planning Act, permitting no more than 5 unserviced residential lots from any parcel existing on July 9th, 1994, and meeting reporting requirements. Notwithstanding that the subsection 10 exemption provides the town with some flexibility to address the principles and objectives behind the SPA, which in many cases align with the community values relating to rural character and vibrant agricultural sector, the proposed use of the properties involved becoming fully serviced as they are developed, or in the case of PID 814095, further developed, meeting the SPA objective of minimizing the extent to which unserviced residential, commercial, or industrial development may occur. Likewise, the development of service development within the town boundaries will continue to protect the rural community beyond the town limits, serving to release some of the pressure for housing lots and commercial industrial lands. The regulation of the use of these properties through a professional municipal planning system meets the 3rd objective of addressing land use conflicts. The addition of the following immediately after subsection objective 3H in section 11.2 in the official plan. I ensure the development of any parcels subject to the Stratford Region Special Planning Area rules under the Planning Act Subdivision and Development Regulations is considered in the context of the 3 objectives in subsection 63.3 of those regulations, minimizing unserviced development, protecting rural communities, and by minimizing the loss of primary industry lands to non-resource land uses and minimizing land use conflicts. The Town of Stratford Official Plan, 2014 Schedule B General Land Use Map, is amended by the following. The land use designation of PID 814095 on the Bunbury Road shall be residential. The land use the land use designation of the portion of PID 608141 indicated as parcel I on figure 1 shall be institutional, hereby excluding it from its former designation of agricultural. 3, the land use designation of the portion of PID 608141 indicated as parcel 2 on figure 1 shall be institutional. The land use, number 4, the land use designation of the portion of PID 608141 indicated as parcel 3 on figure 1 shall be industrial. The land use designation of the portion of PID 1086107 indicated as parcel 4 in figure I shall be institutional, hereby excluding it from its former designation of agricultural. The land use designation of the portion of PID 608141 indicated on parcel 5 on figure 1 shall be residential. Number 7, the land use designation of the portion of PID 1086107 indicated as parcel 6 on figure 1 shall be residential, hereby excluding it from its former designation of agricultural. The land use designation of PID 190041 indicated as parcel 7 on figure 1 shall be residential, hereby excluding it from its former designation of agricultural. Effective date, the effective date of the official plan amendment OPA 00121 is the date as signed below by the Minister of Agriculture and Land. And then it goes into the map. And I don't have to go through all the signing places. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held July 5th, 2021. So moved.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. Any comments or questions on this resolution?
I think what we could do, Kevin, is, because I think you should explain why all that special planning area stuff has been put inside the resolution to the council.
When the parcels of land identified on the figure 1 on the screen here, the parcels of land that were outside the town, when they were annexed into the town, it created a conflict with the special planning area. So it was understood that when the annexation was going to happen, that when the boundary of the town was formally adjusted, which it was as of June 1st, that the special planning area regulation boundary would be done at the same time. There has been something as of yesterday that we've heard through the province that there's been a change to the special planning area, but to ensure that we were going to be protected and we were going to follow the intent of the special planning area, we proposed to insert these clauses just to ensure that it's understood that the town is not proposing to annex this land to take resource land out of use. It's to actually put serviced developable land within the town boundaries. So apologize for the wordiness of it a bit. Some of it is background to give council an understanding as to why we're putting it in, and then there's a clause that is going to be inserted into the official plan. It may be something that is done and will be not necessary, but until we have the actual information back from the province, we have to ensure that we have it in. So if the special planning area regulations get changed and the boundary gets changed to follow the new town boundary, then in future we may be able to remove this portion from the official plan. But at this time, we must ensure that it's there.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
All right. I think this is the last one, is it? Number PH 01621, Town of Stratford, 101523 PEI Inc., and Farquharson Zoning and Development Bylaw Number 45, Text and Zoning Map Amendments, Bylaw 45H, first reading. Whereas applications have been received by S.J. Murphy Planning and Consulting on behalf of the Town of Stratford, Ian Dalton, 101523 PEI Inc., Paul and Robert Farquharson, and Jane Farquharson, and Doug Crossman for amendments to the Town of Stratford Official Plan and the Zoning and Development Bylaw Number 45. And whereas the requested changes relating to the community campus properties also necessitate a text amendment to both the official plan and zoning and development bylaw number 45 to accommodate the potential range of proposed uses, including restaurants and lounges, as secondary uses in the public service institutional zone. And whereas some of the subject area was previously located within town boundaries, resulting in a request for changes in designation and zoning for those portions, while other portions have recently been annexed into the town, requiring a process to assign new designations and new zoning. And whereas a public meeting was held on June 23rd, 2021, and due to COVID-19 gathering restrictions for this public meeting, we were limited to 50 people, but it was also live streamed for people to watch, and residents were given until June 30th, 2021 to submit their comments, and no comments were received on the proposed text amendments that were outlined by the town planner. Whereas, as of the date this report was written, 2 comments have been received from the public regarding the campus concerned about traffic and road alignment. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45H, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, be hereby read and approved a first time. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning, Development, and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on July 5th, 2021. So moved.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. Any explanation needed, or?
So, Kevin, I don't know if you want to, just go into the purpose of this one relating back to the last resolution.
So the last resolution was the amendments to the actual official plan and the land use map. These are the proposed amendments to the zoning and development bylaw that assign or redesignate the zoning of the actual property, and also some minor text amendments within the bylaw to allow for the uses that were discussed in the last resolution. The figure is on the screen that was referred to in both resolutions, and I apologize for the wordiness of the resolutions, but they're formally required to be that way. I think the consultant has done a great job of summarizing everything on the illustration that's used here, which very much clarifies what is being done in a bit of a simpler form, and you can see it in a graphic illustration, but if anybody has questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, no questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay,
That's it
thank
for
you.
me.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move to infrastructure. Deputy Mayor Clow chairs Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Your
Floor is
Worship.
yours.
The infrastructure minutes from June 21st are in your package. For any questions, most of it we'll be dealing with it. Some as a resolution tonight. We have two resolutions. My report, Your Worship, the wastewater delivery system to Charlottetown Pollution Control Plant. The biosolid material on the site was found to meet the exceptional quality classification. The Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action has suggested that it may be used on the surface of the infill lagoon cells. A plan has been submitted for the department for approval, and the contractor is prepared to return to the site by the end of the month to complete the decommissioning and reclamation of the site. Inflow and infiltration reduction strategies. We continue to monitor and assess the sanitary sewer collection system to identify any areas requiring repair that will reduce the amount of surface and groundwater entering the collective system. Several manhole covers have been replaced with floating frames and covers in streets where the province is repaving. The utility department is considering using a trenchless technology called curb-in-place pipe lining to renew the segments of pipe in the Bunbury area. Investing in Canada infrastructure program, sewer lift station upgrades. The department is finalizing the design with the consultant for the first phase of the work, anticipating to begin in the fall. The department made the decision to proceed with the 4-main installation as phase 1. However, the consultants raised some concerns with the options, which are being reviewed. Water station upgrades. The contractor has completed the installation and is addressing deficiencies prior to coordinating the commissioning of the stations with the supplier. The Provincial Active Transportation Fund landmark is anticipated to begin construction on the Kepik Road multi-use path by the end of the month. SCADA system upgrades, phase 2, the tender closed on June 24th. for the continuation of the upgrading the communication at all water and sewer stations to radio communications for more reliable and efficiency monitoring of the station. 2 bids were received, and a resolution is being brought forward to council to award the project to the low bidder, Bellinger Electrical Limited. The staff have been busy with maintaining fields, grooming trails, grass cutting, bylaw complaints, installation of 15 sets of speed humps and relocating the early ones that were installed, completing the sewer pump station cleaning, water valve exercising, valve box repair, hydrant maintenance, completed landscape repairs at Town Hall, completed filter replacements and heat pump maintenance, and replacing parking lot signage at the town. And during the month of June, testing at the T Hill Park will show E. coli in the water. The septic system is being investigated to determine if there is a failure in the system, and signage has been posted to caution facility users to not drink the water. So that's my report, Your Worship. Is there any questions, myself or
Thank you.
Jeannie will give you the answer.
Any questions for Deputy Mayor Clow? If not, please proceed to the resolution.
First resolution is number INC 002-2021, SCADA System Upgrade Phase 2. Whereas the SCADA System Upgrade Phase 2 tender closed on June 24, 2021, and whereas the following tenders were received, HST included. Bellinger Electric Limited, $181,096.25. Dynamic Control Canada, Inc., $190,307.50. And whereas a capital budget of $236,500 was approved for the SCADA System Upgrade Phase 2. And whereas funding through the municipal strategic components of the gas tax for 50% of the project cost up to $118,250 will be contributed towards the project. Be it resolved that the tender be awarded to Bellinger Electric Limited in the amount of $181,096.25, HST included. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Infrastructure Committee via an email poll conducted on July 6, 2021. So moved.
Okay. Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Just wondering about the funding. It says we get 50% up to 118,000. But is that towards the 181, or is that the capital budget of 236? So do we have to spend the 236 to get the 118, or is it, which is it?
It is, the 50% that you're looking at was based on the estimate that we provided at the time of the application. So we had estimated the project cost would be the 236. So that's the maximum amount of the funding that we will receive. They will contribute 50% of our project cost up to that amount. So seeing how the tender came in at was it 181 and change? We would assume it would be 50% of that, if there are no extras as they do the work.
So we're really getting about 90,000, a little over 90,000.
As long as the price comes in at the tendered,
Okay.
yes, cost without foreseeing any extras, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried.
Next resolution is number INC 003-2021, disposition of land located at 9 Park Lane, PID 884908. Whereas the Stratford Utility Corporation owns a small piece of property comprised of 0.05 acreage located at 9 Park Lane, PID 884908. And whereas this piece of land was formerly used for one of the wells that supplied the Dundance Lane water system and was decommissioned several years ago as it was no longer needed. And whereas Blair and Donna McLaughlin have submitted a request for decision to purchase the property and append it to their property located at 9 Park Lane, PID 768846. And whereas, based on the disposition of assessed policy, the land must be appraised by a qualified authority. In addition, the survey of all surplus land must be prepared by a registered land surveyor prior to any sale. And whereas the land was appraised by John Ives of Century 21 at a value of $2,000, and his fee for service was $316.25. Be resolved that the town sell the piece of land described above for $2,316.25, including any legal fees required during the sale of the property. Be it further resolved that in accordance with the sale of the land, the existing lot PID 884608 must be consolidated with PID 768846. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Infrastructure Committee based on a meeting held on June 21st, 2021. So moved.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion?
A few questions. In regards to this piece of property, was the other neighbors contacted about the selling of this property? I think that the land is right on this person's lot.
Pretty well.
It's actually in between two of their lots, so.
Okay, so it's just, yeah, it'd be no good to anybody else.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Notice the appraiser is Joel Ives. Is that the same Joel Ives as on our planning committee?
It's actually John Ives.
Oh, it's John Ives? Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that, for clarification. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
No problem.
No other further questions?
So I have a couple of questions. So Jeremy, so does the McLaughlins own 948604?
They own the two lots that are directly attached to this parcel. I don't have it right in front of me, but just one second, I can get it.
It's on the board.
So they own 948604 and 768846.
Okay. So one is shaded here on my map and one isn't, but they're both owned by the same owner.
That's correct.
Okay. I did kind of a quick little check there on the value of square footage of property in Stratford. And it's anywhere from $10 a square foot to $20 a square foot. And I realize this piece of property is only good for the applicant, but I'm afraid that we're giving it away. If we can make between $20,740 or $41,480 for this property, and we're giving it away for $2,000.
Well, we had a professional appraiser involved based on our disposition of assets policy, and because this property really it's not able to be developed, it wouldn't be the same as a typical piece of land.
As I realize.
So, you know, based on that amount and the fact that there's no ability to develop or anything, it's really of only use to this property owner. So we went based on the appraisal that was done, and they took that all into account when they were doing their assessment.
So when the Stratford Utility Corporation took this land many years ago, did we expropriate it or did we buy it from him?
I'm not sure. That was before my time, but it's quite some time ago. And there was one well located on it at that time, but we have no further use for it, and it would actually be a liability for us to keep it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried.
That's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor Clow. Okay, we'll go to Committee of the Whole. The minutes are before you. Anyone have any comments or questions about Committee of the Whole minutes? If not, we'll go to item number 15, sustainability. I'll turn the floor over to Chair of that committee, Councillor Darren McDougall.
Thank you, Your Worship. As is indicated there, we didn't, there's no report, we didn't meet this past month. Our next meeting will be held in August, That being said, I have a couple of resolutions that I'm happy to read.
Yeah, please proceed.
First up is resolution number SC 004-2021, the Switch Pace Program Policy. Whereas Council adopted a community energy plan which includes targets to reduce community greenhouse gas emissions, and whereas Stratford has joined with the City of Charlottetown and the town of Wolfville in Nova Scotia and the Pace Atlantic Community Interest Corporation to develop an application to FCM for loan and grant funding to offer a PACE program branded as the Switch Program to the residents of these communities, and whereas the Switch Program bylaw was approved at the March Council meeting to establish the program, and the bylaw enables further program requirements to be articulated in a council policy. And whereas the draft Switch Program policy sets requirements for eligibility, the administration fee, the participation agreement, and the loan loss reserve. Be it resolved that the attached Switch Program policy, policy number 2021-SU-01, be hereby approved. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Sustainability Council, or Committee rather, as discussed at a meeting held on June 2nd, 2021. So moved.
I'm just, before we ask for a seconder, could I have clarification? Is this the actual resolution that you handed out?
I think right now, Councilor McDougall's reading SC 004-2021.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, sorry.
The next resolution, though, 005, actually, there was two resolutions, and the wrong one was put in the package.
Oh, okay.
The one that you have in front of you now is the correct one.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
So the resolution's been moved. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Was the correct resolution read?
Yes.
That's for the policy, 004.
Oh, the first one.
The next one is
05.
one for 005.
Okay.
Okay, any discussion, any comments or questions? I'd just like to compliment Councillor McDougall and CAO Robert Hughes and Jeremy, and I guess there's a lot of staff that were involved. Maddie was involved in this too, I believe, Jeremy, and Jeannie, I think you were involved, and there was a lot of people involved in this, so it is a lot of work, and there was a lot of discussion back and forth. I know Robert sort of led the charge on this in discussions with FCM, and he was front and center all through the whole development of the program. So this is quite an accomplishment. So I just compliment everybody involved in this. Okay, so we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Excuse
Oh, sorry,
me,
go
yeah,
ahead.
I'd like to ask a question. So do we have an out in this if it doesn't work out?
What do you?
Like, can we get out of
What
the
do you mean?
program? If we find it too much for staff, or we're having too many issues, one way or the other, people not paying back their loans?
So if we decide to get out of this program, yeah, we can. So I'm sure Jeremy's heading up there to give you some more clarity on that.
Thank you.
There is clauses in the agreement that allow us to withdraw if we need to, but we're very hopeful that won't happen.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have any idea why other communities in the Atlantic provinces haven't jumped on board?
Well, we do have 3 communities that are on board with it. I can't really speak to why the other communities have not, but we feel this is a good program. It's going to bring us closer to getting to a net zero community, and residents will have access to money at 0% interest, so I think it is a great program.
It's 0% interest, but there's a 5% administration fee, and I think that's important that we make sure residents know that up front. That 5% fee is going to help pay for a lot of administration, as I understand.
That's correct.
Do we have any idea of the staff hours that's going to be involved in implementing this program?
Now that Pace Atlantic are taking on the lion's share of the work, it's a lot less. I don't think we have the exact amount of hours, but there is some upfront work that we have to do, and there may be some work at the end of the program, or if they default on the loan, there may be some work for us, but it's not nearly the amount of work that we expected when the program first came out.
Okay. So these are strictly loans, not grants?
Loans.
Right.
Correct.
So our provincial government is now offering grant money for basically the same type of thing, energy efficiency and that type of thing. So people will really have to weigh in and see what's best for them.
That's correct.
Yeah. Is Maddie still on this program or?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Right.
Councillor Smith, I think Councillor McDonald. And I am aware of this. The grants are offered. The grants are rebates for depending on the level that you achieve in your energy efficiency and whatnot. And they generally, and the federal government's offering one now too, but that doesn't cover the cost of all the material that you're using to become energy efficient, so to speak. This is on above and beyond that. So those types of programs are available as incentives to make your home energy efficient, and the grant is there, but it's not covering the cost of your energy efficiency upgrades. This does, and it's interest free. And you can get and you can get the grants on top of that.
I notice on the Schedule A, the borrower's specific terms and conditions as part of the package here tonight. Municipalities will manage payment of contractors and registration of homeowner PACE liens on properties once work is completed. So it sounds like that's on us to look after that portion of it.
That's correct.
Okay.
They'll do all the legwork, and then they'll give us some information to say, here's how the payment should be made. But if they do default on the loan, then we'll have to put a lien against the property.
So the payments come back here to the town?
There'll be a document come back here indicating the amount to pay, and we make the payment, yes.
And FCM is only going to be involved for the first 3 years, I understand? And sorry to put you on the spot, Jenny.
No, I
know
believe
this
that
hasn't been
is the correct, yeah.
Okay. But, okay, thank you.
Is there a cost set up initially for the town? Is there a cost to the town?
Just staff cost.
Just what, just staff?
Yes.
Councillor McDougall, this program facilitates all low-income, middle-income residents of Stratford?
All residents.
All residents, yeah.
All residents, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people can tap into it. It's a lot of beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, these types of concepts with energy efficiency,
right?
If you have a home that's not energy efficient, if you're spending a significant amount of your income to maintain energy costs, this concept is you get an interest-free loan, you introduce this equipment to your home to make it more energy efficient, and you're saving every month. Goes back to pay for the product, but you're not out of pocket at the end of the month, if that makes sense. So yeah, and then eventually you're in the good.
So it will likely only remain interest-free as long as FCM is involved? Otherwise, once the banks get involved, I guess that's out the window.
No, it's actually interest-free over a 20-year period. So
FCM is staying involved for 20 years?
well, it's actually 20. They changed it. Yeah, that was one of the changes that we wanted to make. So on the document that I have here, it's loan terms and repayment periods will be up to 20 years.
So is there a list of what it covers? Like I'm thinking windows, oil tanks, heat pumps, or is it solar panels, I guess, or
solar panels are included, yes.
Are heat pumps?
Heat pumps are included, yeah.
And oil tanks?
Don't believe oil tanks, but
Windows?
Windows, I believe they are, yes. I don't have a complete listing here, but
I'm just wondering what
it's very similar to the other programs that are out there and the program that's being put on by the federal government.
But Stratford, I understand, is spearheading this, right? So we're it, as, you know, for the other communities to come to us. as far as I know.
Robert did take the lead
Robert,
on this
yeah,
program, and
yeah.
the other communities did follow his lead,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm just a
yeah.
little nervous that we'll be losing Robert in the next few months, and it's been kind of his project and his baby sort of thing, and
Well,
hopefully
he'll-
you can,
He'll make sure we're all very well prepared before.
okay. So overall, the staff is happy with this
I believe it's,
additional work?
you know, there's a little bit of additional work, but I think it's a great program for the residents. And again, to get us back, you know, closer to our net zero targets within the community, it's a really good program.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Okay, thank you for your report.
Yeah, I have another
Oh, you
resolution.
have another resolution?
Yeah,
Sorry.
the,
Same
I was in the policy there, now I'm into,
This is the agreement.
I'm into the agreement here, yeah. Resolution number SC 005-2021, switch pace program agreements.
This one here, Darren. It's a paper one.
Oh. Whereas council adopted a community energy plan which includes targets to reduce community greenhouse gas emissions, and whereas the town of Stratford has joined with the city of Charlottetown, the town of Wolfville in Nova Scotia, and the Pace Atlantic Community Interest Corporation to develop an application to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for loan and grant funding to offer a property-assessed clean energy program, branded as the Switch Program, to the residents of these communities. And whereas the Switch Program bylaw was approved at the town's council meeting on March 10th, 2021, and the Switch Program policy was approved at this meeting. And whereas the town must enter into a legal agreement with FCM for the funding of the Switch Program and a legal agreement with the Pace Atlantic CIC for the administration of the Switch Program. And whereas the town share of FCM's proposed funding for the Switch Program is the lesser of $1,941,394, 56.8% of eligible costs, and the net costs incurred for qualifying homes' energy upgrades. And whereas the financing of $1,941,394 is within the 10% capital debt threshold of the town of Stratford and will not cause the town to exceed its debt limit, given that the current borrowing limits for the town is based on its total assessed tax base, $882,345,622 times 10%, which equals $88,234,562, of which the town is using $14,680,046 as of March 31st, 2020. And whereas the term of the loan is 20 years and the interest rate is the greater of the Government of Canada rate minus 2% and the FCM interest rate of 0%. So moved.
And note the other side.
Back, turn it around.
Good try.
You should have told me that, Kim. Well, I was looking for something else, and it wasn't there. Huh? Well done. And whereas the loan shall be repaid by participants under the Switch Program making payments to the town, which payments shall be secured by liens on the participants' properties and the town repaying FCM in equal consecutive semi-annual installments commencing on the first day following the end of the program implementation period. Be it resolved that the mayor and CAO be authorized to enter into and sign the attached Green Municipal Fund loan and grant agreement with the FCM on behalf of the town and to affix the corporate seal of the town thereto. Be it further resolved that the mayor and CAO be authorized to enter into and sign the municipal service agreement with Pace Atlantic Community Interest Corporation, a summary of which is attached on behalf of the town and to affix the corporate seal of the town thereto. So move.
Okay, just before I call for a seconder, just want to make sure that the information here is correct. Is it March 31st, the second last clause on front page? Is it March 31st, 2020 that we have that total amount of debt, or should it be 2021?
It is 2020. We use our financial statements to compare, and we don't have our audited financial statements for March 31st, 2021 completed as of yet.
Okay, and the other question I had is about the secured by liens on the first clause on the second page. It's not secured by liens in all cases. It's only liens if because of non-payment, eh? So it would
No,
be,
it's in
if
all
necessary,
cases.
should we?
No, it's in all
It's
cases.
always secured by liens?
In all cases, yes.
Yeah.
In all cases, okay. Okay, I'll call for a seconder. Thank you. Any discussion?
I have an issue with the resolution as well, Your Worship. Kim, would you give us a ballpark? Can you give us a ballpark where we're standing right now with our debt, like even up to March of this year?
I'll have
I'm
to.
Putting you on the spot a bit.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
All right, so this is adding $2 million to our town debt.
That's correct.
That's correct. I believe there's a typo in the resolution, actually. It says the interest rate is going to be the greater of the Government of Canada rate, minus 2%, so I believe that should be Bank of Canada rate. Government of Canada doesn't have an interest rate. So that's showing that indeed there will be an interest rate charged.
I think
So the FCM interest rate is 0%, but it looks like the Bank of Canada rate minus 2% will be also charged.
it is the Government of Canada rate.
The Government of Canada rate?
Yeah.
Interest rate?
Yeah.
It says here. Yeah, I know, but the resolution is saying something else, right? The Government of Canada rate minus 2%. Yeah. And it says, and the FCM interest rate of 0%. And as I say, I realize this is not your project, Jeremy, so, you know, is there any reason we can't defer this until the project manager is back next month? Is he back next month?
Well, we have announcements that have gone out already.
Prematurely, right? Well, this council hasn't approved it yet.
It was looked at by the town lawyer to approve the some of sorry, and the whereas, all that section was given to us from the lawyer, so that is the correct.
That's a great an error. Lawyers are people too. Yeah, okay. I'm just glad that we have an out in this project, Your Worship. I'm envisioning lots of issues down the road, sort of thing. I'm not sure what our uptake is going to be. I'm not sure how much extra work it's going to be on the staff. And we're adding nearly $2 million to our town debt.
But we're not necessarily, like, this is all, we're not gonna, it doesn't come out of our debt. We have to make debt room. But as it's like, as money comes out, FCM is going in. This is zero money out of our pocket.
But we're
Up
loaning
to-
the money to the public, and we have to get it back from the public, right? Jeremy, do you want to clarify that?
Councilor Birch is correct. We have to make room within our debt for the $2 million, but we will be getting all that back, either through the program or if there's liens on the property borrowers, right? So we will be getting all that money back, but it's over time.
Minus the administration, or are they going to pay us back on that as well?
That's correct.
Full amount?
That's my understanding, yes.
Will there be interest in that, too, that $2 million?
No, not for us, no.
Okay.
And it was also brought to my attention that perhaps we can use this switch money for other items. Like, could the town borrow against this? Or is it strictly for?
Strictly for the residents, that I
residents and
understand.
businesses?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
It is for businesses?
I
Yeah,
didn't-
but not for
the residents.
municipalities.
Just residents?
Residents,
Yeah,
yes.
no, you just have business.
Okay, I believe Robert mentioned that he's going to open it up to commercial. But so the town wouldn't be able to use it for anything, like if we wanted to put solar panels on our roof
No.
or somewhere else?
That's right.
We can't touch it.
It's a community program.
Right on.
Okay, any other comments? Thanks for your.
I have a couple questions. Is this resolution coming to tomorrow's council?
No,
Is not? Okay, so this is a first reading, I take it?
no, this will be passed tonight.
This is passed tonight, okay. So the Bank of Canada rate, the Government of Canada rate is something we should look at. And the Sustainability Committee is moved here by Councilor McDougall, but there's no resolution on the bottom, like this resolution bills a recommendation. Is that a typo here, or am I missing something?
It could be missing, but I know it was discussed at several meetings with sustainability,
Okay,
so.
so
yeah.
okay, good enough. So it was discussed at a thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So we add that into the resolution, or?
Yes,
you
it
just
should
feel
be.
comfortable?
It should be.
I don't know if the exact resolution, but the information has been discussed, so,
If it passed the resolution from that committee, then the date of that committee meeting should be as part of this resolution.
It was June 2nd, 2020 on the previous one.
2020?
yeah.
2021.
So this is the passing of the agreement. It may not have been all put through the committee at that time, so that's probably why it's not in there. But all the information was discussed prior.
So they didn't put a recommendation through.
Bear the recommendation in the,
And this one too?
No, because this is the formal agreement, which is done through the
Okay.
lawyers. and
So it didn't go through the committee? Is your answer?
Okay, any other comments or questions on this resolution?
I think for me, I look at it as, here's $1.9 million of free money funding to go to our residents that, may not be able to access $40,000 worth of capital easily without borrowing from the bank to put, energy efficient infrastructure into their house. So, and we are the first to do it, and yeah, there might be hiccups. I get your concerns there, Gail, but otherwise we're throwing away that opportunity that our residents can take advantage of. So
Just be careful of the term free money. It's definitely not free money to anybody, right?
well, it's FCM is handing us this money. It's taxpayers' money. It's coming through the government, but this is some taxpayer money back in our pockets that we can use to apply infrastructure to our homes.
To loan out to the
Yeah.
people.
The Federation of Canadian Municipalities, we pay dues, I think the dues are quite a bit every year. Like, we pay thousands of dollars every year to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, as all member communities do. And they use that money not only to cover their administration costs, but to make programs like this available with funding from the Government of Canada and other maybe private organizations as well, to make this available to municipalities to make sure that they can access green energy, or like look at improving their carbon footprint.
well, what it's allowing is residents that normally couldn't access money to improve their homes for energy efficiency. It's giving them that opportunity to do that.
So more high-risk clients then?
Not necessarily, just that
Perhaps.
it could be, but it's giving greater flexibility to people. And we're trying to help people to make sure that we do have energy efficiency within the community.
Yeah. With an organization such as FCM, I'm just really shocked that, some of the rest of the municipalities across Canada hasn't also jumped on this, if it's so great.
I can't explain that.
I know.
I'd just like to point out that, in my mind, this is good for the residents of Stratford, but it's also good for the environment.
Correct.
And that's also a concern.
that we have to look at.
Sure.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we vote? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, thanks for your comments, everyone. Next item on the agenda is my committee, accountability and engagement. We didn't have a meeting, and I don't have a report for now. We did have the survey results, which were provided to each councillor. There was a presentation, but I guess it wasn't able to be attended by very many, so there will be another opportunity in the near future. So any questions on accountability and engagement? Okay, next item is human resources.
Nothing, Your Worship, at this time?
We did have a meeting.
Well, we did, yeah.
Yeah, so that was, yeah, okay. 2 meetings, didn't we?
We had
2
two
meetings since our
meetings,
last
and-
council meetings, yeah.
That's right, yeah. There were 2 meetings, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just basically
Yeah.
to go over some
In-house.
compensation
yeah,
items.
exactly.
Yeah, okay. All right, any inquiries at this point by members of council about anything at all? Okay, we'll move on to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex, chaired by Deputy Mayor Clow. I'll ask him to give that report.
Minutes are in your package for May 11th meeting, and we also had a meeting yesterday. Everything is great. There's minutes are in your package of what's going on down there. Everything's good. Everything's rented. The vanities and patio doors are all been installed, and so the annual inspection of the fire alarm was done by T&K Fire, and Godmore Electric was in to install some new kitchen lights, and so everything is great. All the units are rented, so that's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions on the report? Okay, thanks very much for your report.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to appointments to committees. Nothing to report there. Okay. No proclamations. Any other business anyone would like to raise at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you. We're
So
now
moved.
adjourned. Thanks.